Hello and welcome to TechFunnel.com's interview series for Women's History Month. My name is Danny White, and today we have joining us Courtney Caldwell. Courtney is the co-founder and COO of ShearShare, the first on-demand salon and barbershop space rental app. Prior to co-founding ShearShare, Google Demo Day winner 2018 and Startup of the Year, she managed an award-winning salon with her husband and co-founder, which was the genesis behind ShearShare. Before that, Courtney spent 2 decades building winning teams in tech marketing and ran a boutique consulting firm where she fast-tracked international sales and marketing success for brands including Zendesk, Zenefits, and Qualtrics. She recently received an honorary doctorate degree from Miracle University and was named a 2018 Dallas Business Journal Women in Technology, the 2017 L'Oreal Women in Digital Next Generation Award winner, and a Direct Marketing News 40 Under 40. She serves on the advisory board for Ogle Cosmetology School, the alumni board for Southern Methodist University, and is a member of the UT Dallas Entrepreneurship Council. Courtney lives in McKinney, Texas with her husband, Dr. Ty Caldwell, and their 18-year-old son, Trey. Welcome, Courtney. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks, Danny. Appreciate you having me.
Awesome. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you found good success as a woman in technology and entrepreneurship.
Oh, sure. So I like to say that I was born in hippie country. For those who don't know, that means Santa Cruz, California. Back in the 70s, my parents were high school sweethearts who found their way to California from San Antonio, Texas. And my dad was military. He decided to become a doctor in the U.S. Army. And so we moved around quite a lot. I think we probably spent maybe 2 years at a time in a place. And so I love that part of my background because I always had to figure out how to become a chameleon, right? So always new school, new neighborhood, new church, new group of friends, et cetera. And that has really followed me throughout my career, whether it be in tech or entrepreneurship. I've always had to kind of just figure it out as I go. And my dad was really strong on, no man is left behind. And my mother was very strong on discipline. Like there's always a time and a place for everything.
Absolutely.
And those 3 things kind of, girded me and formed me into the person that I am today. Not just being a wife, but being a mother and now co-founder of a beauty tech startup, which I never thought I would ever do.
Yeah, that's incredible. So you spent almost 20 years as a B2B tech marketer working for, major brands, as we mentioned, like Zenefits and Qualtrics. How did you make that shift from tech marketing to the beauty industry?
Yeah. So funny story. I met my now husband, 20 years ago at his salon. Right. And just by way, it really happenstance, did not realize that later we would, be owning a salon or growing a beauty business and now, ShearShare. But we met, almost 2 decades ago now, and being married to a beauty and barbering entrepreneur, small business owner who is really a staple in the community. That just meant that I, by virtue of being his spouse, was also part of the beauty industry. Admittedly, I do not have the gift of being able to do hair. I wish I had been given that gift, but I was helpful in other ways. So I've always been helpful in hiring new stylists when we rebranded and expanded our salon, contract negotiations, ordering products and building relationships with manufacturers. So I've had like 1 foot in the salon world as an owner, and absolutely loved it. And so that transition actually came because we were just trying to solve a problem for ourselves. Like literally, we were just thinking about how can we fill this empty chair that we've just expanded into. What can we do to go about doing that? And we have been used to having people be on a waiting list to get into our salon, to work out of our salon. Because we had such a great reputation in the city. We were Plano's best salon and barbershop for 3 years running. And so we were just used to that, right? And had great relationships with the beauty schools and local barber colleges. And all of a sudden in 2012, things started to shift and the wind started to change. We had a stylist who called us by happenstance and just wanted to rent a couple of days a week. And we're like, okay, that's really strange. Like, why would anyone ask to rent by the day? Like, no one does that in our industry.
Right.
Actually, since the early 1900s, the way that stylists find professional space to work has not changed. And so I remember my husband came home and Ty told me about this random phone call that he received. We're putting ads out on Craigslist and Indeed and talking to beauty schools and barber colleges trying to fill the seat for the long-term booth renter. And we're not getting bites on those ads. And so he said, you know what, babe, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to at least try it, right? Because that's collecting dust. I'd rather make some money on it. So let's just try and figure out, from there. And so we did. And we loved the experience so much. The stylist loved the experience so much that she started asking us if we could do the same thing in further cities in North Texas. So like in McKinney and in Allen and in Prosper. And we're like, that's strange, but yeah, we'll go ahead and help you out. We'll call salons in those areas and kind of put in a good word for you and share with them our experience with you in hopes that they'll also do this kind of day rental.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me, Courtney?
Call.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you cut out there for about a minute.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. What was the last thing you heard me say?
So you were talking about the phone call that your husband received and then how you were able to answer that with getting rental spaces available for a stylist. You were right there in the middle.
Great. Oh, so sorry about that.
No problem.
So Ty received this random phone call at the salon one day, and the stylist wasn't looking to rent our space long term. She said, I just need like a Friday, Saturday. I have clients I have relocated, and my clients are not looking to drive 45 minutes or an hour to get to me. And I'm definitely afraid of losing them because they're a really solid part of my book of business. Can I just rent your space like for 2 days? I remember Ty came home and I kind of chuckled at it. I was like, who would even do that? Like, we don't do that in the industry.
Right.
In the early 1900s, the way stylists find professional space to work, hasn't changed. And so we're being asked to, help this stylist out in her desperate need. And of course, my husband, having the heart that he has, said, you know what, I'll go ahead and do it. Plus that space is just collecting dust right now. I'd rather make some money on it than none. And so let's just try it. And so we did. And we all loved the experience, so much so that the stylist then said, okay, now can I do this in McKinney? And I have a couple of clients in Allen and then also in Prosper. And so can you call a couple of salons up there for me? And we said, okay, sure, whatever. Like, we'll go ahead and kind of validate you to these stylists or fellow salon owners and help them understand our experience and how awesome it was and help them kind of price what that would be for you for a couple of days. She's like, okay, great. And so then that particular stylist started telling other stylists and barbers about us. And so we have people with our personal cell phones who would call us up in the middle of the night and say, hey, I need to be in Pembroke Pines in a couple of weeks. I'm going back home for I need a salon to do people's hair because I don't want to do in the kitchen. I know it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then, so that's really how ShearShare grew. It really has grown phone call by phone call.
Amazing. So out of that, you and your husband built like an amazing app based on that idea. So what was like your thought process behind that?
Yeah, it really, honestly, Danny, it got to the point where these concierge type phone calls, right, were getting to be a bit much. And we were doing this for 3 years. We look up and we're like, oh my gosh, it's 2015. Like, why are we still doing this? Yeah. So the height of, like the Ubers and the Airbnbs. And we're like, you know what? There's an app for everything. There has to be an app for this. Like, go find it. So the next time that someone calls, we can kind of, push them in that direction and still be helpful, but not, have it be sitting on our shoulders.
Right.
And so we looked and looked and looked and nothing came up on Google. And we're like, really? Like, we know this is an issue because we've had it ourselves, and we know other salon owners have the issue, and stylists are finding it very difficult to find space to work, especially because they don't want to sign a long-term contract anymore. And that was the aha moment for us. That's when we looked at each other and said, yep, we said this has to exist because it will help keep our beauty and barbering businesses open, and it will allow people to launch out faster and really save a lot of money because they're only paying for space to work when and where they need it. And so we started building it. We drew every screen on a Chipotle napkin because we were bootstrapping this thing. I had no idea that there was this ethereal place called the startup world where people would give you money to go build your dream. And so drained our savings account and put all the money into building ShearShare with a third party. Thankfully now we are a team of 10, 11. And so we have our tech team in-house. And so the world looks a little bit different when it comes to app development and design. But in the early days, we just did what we knew what to do.
Cool. So you mentioned that was like your aha moment when you were searching for an app that did not exist. And you had to create it. So how do you know when you have a great idea, and how do you go about getting the financing to pull it off? Because obviously there is like this unseen world of people with all this money who are willing to give you buku money to go and fulfill your dream. So talk to our audience a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, these folks are definitely hiding in plain sight. I will say that. But I would say for us, like, we knew we had a great idea because it was our own pain point, right? Like, there was a problem that we had that we continued to have and that other salon owners were having. And we got tired of seeing our, other barbershop owners and salon owners have to close down because they couldn't fill their empty seats. And because we sit on the advisory boards of beauty schools and barber colleges, we're hearing from the rising generation of stylists who are entering the workforce. They keep telling them, hey, I really don't want the whole ownership thing. I kind of just want the access. Like, give me the access to the resources and places and tools that I need in order to be successful in the industry. I don't want to own, this whole, sandbox, if you will.
Right.
And so we just stood in the middle and we became this kind of gap filler. And that was just validation and confirmation that, that we had come up with an idea that was a really solid idea, solving a very real problem. Now the financing, oh my goodness, that could be an entire conversation on its own.
It can, definitely.
Bootstrapping, we thought that was our only, option. Because again, we didn't know that there were incubators and startup accelerators and these people called angel investors and VC firms and people who would do this whole startup thing with you and be on this journey with you. And so we started bootstrapping ShearShare, did that for a couple of years. One of our advisors, even now, mentioned a startup competition that we entered and won. And then she told us about accelerators and incubator programs. So we were very blessed to be able to get into two of the top two in the entire world, Y Combinator Fellowship and 500 Startups. And then from there, it kind of took off with the fundraising. But it even had hiccups after, going through those programs because, walking into a meeting, you're talking to investors who don't understand that this is a very real problem. Like, if you walk into a room and talk about the problem that Uber is solving, they totally get it, right? Because they can see themselves downloading the app, pressing a button and getting a car, or pressing a button and saving money by staying in someone's home versus a hotel space. But when you try to explain to them this, and I almost hesitate to use the word niche, but it really is a niche market that we're serving because it doesn't affect everybody, but it affects over 1.2 million stylists. So it's a huge market to impact. It really took a lot of education, helping them understand, how the beauty industry operates, why this is such a problem. And so we really had to dig deep and have literally hundreds of conversations till we got to those people who said, yeah, I'm willing to bet on the jockey versus the horse.
Wow, that's interesting. So what is the thing you like the most about being a female entrepreneur?
It took me a while. Our son is 18. He's headed off to the U.S. Air Force Academy in a couple of months. And so we're in our 40s. So I say we're a little bit longer in the tooth, right? So this is not our first rodeo, so to speak. And what it took me the longest to learn about myself is actually the one thing I love most about being a female entrepreneur. And that is realizing I can bring my whole self to work. So with that, I mean, I can be 100% nurturing. I'm nurturing at home. I'm nurturing when it comes to my family life. And I don't have to enter the workforce and then be a different person. I can be fully me. And that is where the magic happens. I think for so long when I was in corporate America, I felt that I had to, the Courtney who I was at home had to stop at the door. And then when I entered that office space, I had to be kind of this different person, have a different facade, not be as nurturing as a manager, but be very like hard nosed and more aggressive. And I realized I didn't have to do that. And I could still help people, like pull out the best in people by being just who I am naturally. That has definitely been my favorite thing to uncover about myself and about being a female entrepreneur.
That's awesome. So what has been your biggest challenge and in the same vein, your biggest opportunity as being an entrepreneur and just being a woman in business?
I would say biggest challenge is probably the same as my biggest opportunity. And that is my voice, like finding my voice. It's definitely a challenge when you're walking into a room. And I was used to being in rooms as the only one, either the only female or the only African-American, or definitely the only unicorn Black female. And so, so a lot of people will talk over you. I don't know if it's always intentional, but sometimes it feels that way.
Absolutely.
And so when you feel comfortable enough to finally sit up and, elevate your voice because you have great ideas, and I had great ideas, and I was always being able to see my thumbprint on the bottom line. That was a big challenge for me, a big hurdle for me to overcome. But at the same point, it was definitely the biggest opportunity area that attributed to my growth, because once I started sharing my thoughts and really using a megaphone when it came to elevating my own voice, doors would open. I would get more team members, more responsibilities, more special projects, and that continued to elevate my journey while in corporate America.
Very nice. Final question. What is the one thing that you do on a daily basis that really keeps you grounded in both your personal and professional life? You mentioned earlier how one thing you like about being an entrepreneur is that you can take your whole self to work, and you can be whoever you are at home. You can be at work, and whoever you are at work, you can be at home. So what's your daily rhythm that keeps you grounded in your life?
That's a great question. People would think that my husband and I are pretty boring if they heard that we do the same thing every morning. But even if you research, the most successful individuals, they will tell you that it is discipline, right? That really
absolutely
move the needle. And so in our personal lives, we start every day in prayer as a family. I read, meditate, and pray every day. And then we actually have, I call it a concoction. I probably need to come up with some other name. But we have the same drink in the morning to start the juices flowing. It's hot water with ground ginger, turmeric, honey, cinnamon, and lemon. And that just kind of kicks off a lot of stuff for us after we finish meditating. And then we'll find time throughout the day to work out. But I find that when I've had time to sit and meditate and pray, it's never sometimes, it's always where the noise that is my to-do list gets refined. And I can see how God uses my mind to kind of resort and reprioritize. And by the time I'm done meditating, I'm like, okay, I know what 3 rocks I need to work on today. I'll leave the other things for tomorrow or for another team member. And I feel empowered, and I feel energized to go tackle my day.
That's awesome. Definitely having that discipline, quiet time in the morning in prayer, it definitely gives you direction for the day, reprioritizes whatever you thought you were going to do in that day, just reprioritizes it and allows you to focus on what is most important for that day. So that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's it. Courtney, is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience?
If people in the audience have a stylist friend, a salon owner, barbershop friend, please tell them about the app ShearShare. It's the first mobile app that lets stylists rent space to work by the day. It's a free download. All they have to do is either find us on the App Store or Google Play, or just go to www.shearshare.com, and then feel free to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at ShearShare.
Awesome. I do have one stylist friend who does my hair who will definitely be getting your information for this ShearShare app. So awesome. Thank you so much, Courtney. We really appreciate your time today and for all the insights and advice you shared with us. You and your husband keep up the great work. We really appreciate what you're doing. Guys, thanks for listening to this interview. For these and other interviews and topics, please visit techfunnel.com. You can connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, and subscribe to our weekly newsletter so you can stay up to date on what is happening in the industry. Thank you so much.
Nice.